Start with an invocation delivered by Pastor Kevin Donovan from First Wesleyan Church in Eden. That'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. That'll be led by Commissioner Mark Richardson. If everyone would please stand.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening that we can gather here. We just thank you for the county that we live in. And Father, just all the many things that are going on within our county and how you blessed us, Father. And Lord, we just give you praise for that. And just ask, Lord, that you would be with all the citizens of our county and just guide and direct them each and every day. We pray for those that work for our county, for their protection, Father, and each and every day and the different tasks that they have. And Lord, tonight as well, Lord, we just pray for our commissioners as they meet, Father, that you'd be with them and just bless them during this time. May your will always be done. And Lord, we just give you praise for all that you do. And again, thank you, Father, for loving us. And thank you for this weekend of celebrating Easter. And Lord, may we continue to remember that throughout each and every day of what Jesus did for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you remain standing, face the flag and render the appropriate courtesy and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is approval of tonight's agenda. Gentlemen, you've had the agenda for close to a week. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hall. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye. Next on the agenda are items that fall under the consent agenda. These are non-controversial in nature. If you have any questions about items on the consent agenda, we ask that you reach out to county administration. They'll be glad to provide you with any additional information and answer your questions. With that, gentlemen, do we have a motion to approve items on the consent agenda?
motion.
Motion by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Kellum. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
That then brings us to the public comment period. And no one signed up to speak during the public comment period. So that then brings us to the public hearings. The first public hearing is case 2025-04, zoning map amendment, asking to rezone some property from RA to RM, and we'll hand it over to Mr. Adam Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Before us tonight is planning case 2025-04. This property is located at 11123 NC Highway 87 and is associated with tax pin 797803437687. This is a request to go from the zoning district of residential agricultural to residential mix. This is coming to us as a conventional or general use rezoning. As such, as just a reminder, when we're looking at a conventional rezoning, we're looking at all the potential uses and standards in that zoning district and comparing that to all the uses and standards in the other zoning district and nothing site-specific. The planning board did look at this at their recent March hearing and voted to recommend approval of this. As we can see on our vicinity map, this is located along that 87 corridor in between the town of Wentworth and Eden. Looking specifically at some more context, we see that it's kind of at the confluence of Ashley Loop where it turns to Riverside there off of 87. Zoning in the area, it is going to be mostly RA with some smatterings of residential protected in that area. We see some highway commercial there at that intersection. And there to the north, we have the community shopping district, which is kind of an old retired zoning district that's probably akin to our neighborhood commercial, which is a slightly less intense kind of zoning district than we have for that highway commercial down to the south. And finally, we have an aerial of the property. This is mostly here to show you that we do have some streams on the property. So that is going to kind of create, we do have in our requirements for streams some buffering requirements along streams to preserve some of that natural conservation. So that is going to, as you can see, it's kind of there right off of 87 and then on the back end of the parcel. So that is going to kind of create some natural buffering for whatever does get developed here. Generally speaking, that RM district, the main kind of advantage use-wise of it is that in both of these districts, single-family homes, manufactured homes, and duplexes are going to be permitted. But in that RM district, triplexes, quadruplexes, and townhomes are going to be permitted as well. So that's kind of the main use advantage. There's going to be some slight dimensional changes to standards and lot sizes and things like that. But for the most part, that's going to probably be the main use component that you're going to be looking at. More higher intense commercial uses like multi-level apartments, that is not going to be permitted in a district like this. Otherwise, as far as our comprehensive plan goes, this is designated in our G1 land use class. So this does actually end up calling for RM as an appropriate district. But other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Anybody have any questions at this time before we open the public hearing? No? Okay. With that, we'll open the public hearing. We do have one person that has signed up, Donnie Scarce. And Lance, if you would read, before you get started, if you would read the rules as far as the public hearing, please. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. All those desiring to speak at the hearing should have signed the sheet. You know what you're going to discuss because of what you just heard from the planning director. You'll be allotted 15 minutes to present your case. And
Not the
I'm
applicant.
not reading the right one, am I?
You have 3 minutes to.
3 minutes to present your case.
Yeah, he's not the applicant,
I'm
so
sorry.
you're fine.
I've got this. You have 3 minutes to speak, and the applicant can have a time limit for rebuttal and address all of your comments to the chair. First, state your name and address, and once you've stated your comments, the board will deliberate and make a decision.
Okay. You'd start with your name and address, and then she'll start the clock. Thank you.
Donnie Scarce. Address is 11168 NC 87 South, Eden. And it's not the first go around here, but basically I'll make it short. We have a really nice neighborhood, a lot of kids, a lot of older folks. It's been this way for as long as I can remember. I've been living there since '92, and it's just a really awesome group of people living there. And we just basically we don't want to see townhouses or apartments happening. We got children across the road. I live across the road from our property. We got, I don't know, a lot of people said they were coming, but they didn't. But we just basically want to keep it the neighborhood that it is. So I have no issues with homes being built, even condos like, down the road at Harrington Corner, something like that. But when you got the possibility of, you got almost 5 acres there, and we know, that it could be as many as 30 different apartment complexes there if this is changed. I know it can happen, So you got a graveyard bordering this land, and I'm sure those people don't want the possibility of things happening that shouldn't be happening. And the idea of that, actually entering 87, it's already a busy highway. You get too much going on, and we're going to put everyone else in danger of possibly, not only auto accidents, but children and whatnot that play and whatnot that possibly being injured or worse. So, we want to keep things the way it is. I'm not sitting here saying I'm against advancement and against progression, but you know, in this case, we need to stay where we're at, you know. I've got a lot invested in that property that I'm at. And, you know, I just prefer to see things stay the way they are. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scarce is the only gentleman that signed up to speak, so, yes, ma'am. Well, hold on. If you want to speak, I mean, we've got time. You'll need to come up, state your name and address before you get started. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes.
My name is Patricia Gravely, and I own 185 Equine Trail and 211 Equine Trail, which is directly across from this plot of land. I have all that 18 acres back there. It's my mother-in-law, my husband, and myself. And at the beginning of the drive is my neighbor, Miss Rose, and she has a 10-year-old grandson. It is so peaceful where I have 10 deer I feed every night. I have my chickens. I got possums. It's peace. I bought this property in 2015 because of where it's at. It's a private drive. My fear is if there are more properties over across that street, where that intersection is, my driver's no longer going to be private. It's going to be an oops, I took the wrong turn, or, ooh, I wonder what's down there, because it's a dead end. I don't want that. That's why I bought that property. It's for the privacy, the peace. We came out of Guilford County. We literally went from the hood to the woods, and it's a blessing to have. I don't want it changed. I could see in that 5 acres, because we have so much potential with all the acreage that we have. Progression's gonna happen, I do understand that. But 15 houses, cracker boxes on top of each other, the population, you're gonna kill everything, the wildlife, the traffic in general bothers me, that where the bus stops, they have to do a loop on Yacht so that Gavin doesn't have to actually cross the highway. And I have 3 grandchildren. I have a 4th one due any day now. That if they come up and they're playing on our private drive, I don't need to worry about cars and, that is ours. I don't need strangers coming down throwing trash, tearing up my fencings, donutting, things like that. Please consider the amount of progress that you put there, please. And thank you for letting me slide in, because I've never done this thing before. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. All right. No one else signed up to speak. With that, we got one more. Okay. Same thing, if you'll state your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is William Roberts. I live at 11320 NC 87, just down below this property. My wife and I live adjacent to the property that's being developed right now. That was part of a family farm that was auctioned and sold at the intersection of the Yacht Road. From some discussion I've had with the current owner, I know he has plans for putting 5 houses on Yacht Road across from the 3 that were built several years ago. And then also 2 right next to us. He's already wants to buy our house to build some more. And possibly plans to put about, he said maybe 9 across the road from us. So that's sort of a done deal there, which is going to make that area even more congestive. With that being in my family land, I was hoping and praying that would, one person may come and build 1 or 2 houses there. So we're already going to be more congested there as it is. And you get up along this property in question tonight, that intersection is a very dangerous intersection.
either way, whether it goes, you turn on Ashley Loop or the intersection there on 87, and I guess that's a continuation. Well, it's just a little triangle there. Any direction to get, any way to get on 87 is very dangerous. This is just going to add to it. And just like my neighbor, Mr. Scarce, said, I have no problem with, a couple of residential homes on there, but when you get up to, which I have heard, like he said, up to 30 units or, if it maximizes all the land, it could be more than, it's just going to create a lot more congestion and a lot more issues that, just like the lady was speaking, for safety. So I know I'm a little bit further down the road from it, but I'm already going to have to contend with that new construction. It's already a done deal. So I just wanted to speak up and say we came in just as you were starting, so I didn't get to sign up. But thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you. I believe, I don't see any other hands raised. So, with that, we will close the public hearing. And gentlemen, do we have any questions, comments, or motions?
I have a couple questions for Mr. Barr. If we
Yes, sir.
get him back.
Mr. Barr, if you could come back, please.
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to try to get some clarification here. So this is a straight rezone request, but once whatever happens, when plans are made, that would have to go through a technical review committee, is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah,
And
so
then what are the kind of things that are reviewed, just for the benefit of the public, when something's going through the technical review process as far as traffic and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so as part of that review, we kind of take an interdepartmental approach to kind of reviewing the specifics of any kind of development that does occur on a property, especially something like commercial or multifamily or large subdivisions. So we have multiple departments to kind of weigh in on that and make sure they're following all the regulations kind of across the board, whether that's zoning regulations, as what I do, but we also have NCDOT at the table to make sure they're reviewing that, as well as like things like the fire marshal and various other departments as well. So NCD would definitely review any kind of access drives that they would have, and ultimately they would probably have kind of a better understanding of like what current traffic counts and things are like in the area to kind of better assess their approval process for access and daily trips and things of that nature.
So if I could try to summarize that, I know obviously traffic is not your specialty, but you're saying the Department of Transportation would look at traffic counts and see about possible new accesses that may be needed if there's any sort of development at that property.
Absolutely, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right. Thank you. So any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Hall.
this property is on NC 87. Item number 2, which is on the packet, but we didn't talk about it, I don't think. The property does have water and sewer, is that correct?
That is correct. There is water and sewer connections probably available to the site.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Richardson.
This is a general zoning, so we can't ask you certain specifics. But as a general zoning of 4-point-something acre, what are the limitations?
So as far as density goes, for example, especially with water, we have in our ordinance that water sewer connections kind of gives you advantages in regards to things like density. Just to make the math a little bit easier, since it's about 4.8, you would be allowed 6 dwelling units per acre. So if you were to round this up to 5, we're maybe looking at a slightly less than 30, for example, as a possible amount of units. That's just kind of doing the math and the numbers. Even on a very average piece of property, I would always kind of caveat that with that almost never ends up getting that high to the actual maximum, just when you start looking at the logistics of parking and access and topography and things like that. I think another important consideration for this particular property is going to be those streams and that buffering as well. So that's going to kind of do quite a bit of limitation on how many units. So They could potentially get somewhere close-ish to 30, maybe like 28, but we're probably more realistically getting something in the low 20s if I had, at a maximum, if that's, like something like higher density townhomes, which would be the maximum what's allowed is kind of what is sought there.
And to expand on what you just touched on, so when you say units, you're talking about residential units, which, each townhome would be multiple units, right?
Correct.
Yeah, just trying to clarify for some folks that are listening. So it's not that it would get up to maybe 30 homes as far as actual houses. It's 30 residential units, which, that is the extreme possibility.
Correct.
So you're talking that number of units if it were developed into, whether it be townhome, condo type of dwelling.
So yeah, as you brought up, kind of at its maximum capacity, a realistic way of maybe looking at that is you might end up with 4 or 5 structures that would be divvied up into several smaller units where an individual family would be able to live. Again, that's kind of if it's developed kind of to that maximum, what we would think of for this particular district and those standards.
And the reason that density is higher with water and sewer has to do with setback requirements that come with septic tanks, correct?
If they had access to public water and sewer, that's kind of why they're allowed to have more density. If they required something like septic tanks, you kind of require more specific land in order to be able to have those tanks. So typically you would see less dense areas, less dense development when you have something like septic provided, and you would kind of generally have regulations that kind of funnel more density to areas with that utility access.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
I could come back. If
Yes,
I
sir. Commissioner Richardson.
I'm trying to visualize this a little bit better. And what you stated was the worst case. And it was mentioned earlier about the Harrington development that's at the intersection of 87th and Harrington Highway. As a comparison point, is that about what we're talking about?
Yeah, I would
That
probably
sort of
say in a general scope of character, I believe that one is technically in Eden's jurisdiction, so the zoning,
Yeah.
the zoning isn't quite the same as far as a comparison there, but the general probable character, and again, that's probably kind of its max development capacity for this particular parcel at that RM. That's probably something kind of close in character to have in mind.
And other conditions that would go along with that would be in the planning review and not appropriate for this conversation, correct?
That'd be correct.
Like signage, so forth.
Yeah, so that would ultimately come down to whatever regulations that we already kind of have in the ordinance. They would have to meet any of those.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the map amendment based on the consistency and reasonableness determination statements that are included in the agenda packet.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hall. Do we have a second?
You have a second.
Second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next is case 2025-05, which is considering text amendments to the UDO.
Yeah, so next up, this is coming to you as a text amendment, a change in our ordinance specifically as it relates to setback requirements. So as you know, we have plenty of various different setback requirements in the ordinance. This kind of relates more specifically to side and rear setbacks for commercial properties. So kind of the way for commercial properties, how setbacks works is we do have one set for if a commercial property abuts residential. We have usually some fairly larger increased setbacks for that situation. But we also have setback requirements for when a commercial property abuts other commercial or industrial properties as well. So currently when the UDO got rewritten in about 2021, there were multiple commercial zoning districts that ended up with no setback requirement when abutting other commercial. So this is a text amendment, hopefully to allow some internal consistency as well as some external consistency as well. One of the reasons that we started looking at this is because we also have landscape buffers that are required for these commercial type properties. These are parcel perimeter landscape buffers that are 15 feet in width. And this would go all the way around the property. So this is already kind of like a de facto setback requirement through a different section of the ordinance. And kind of more pragmatically as well, from NC Fire Code, once you start getting structures that are pretty close together, you have pretty steep increases of standards that you then have to comply with, adding costs. So we kind of have a de facto thing internally and then kind of a pragmatic thing externally. So doing this would allow us to kind of be consistent across the board with our own regulations as well as some state regulations through the Fire Code as well. So this is the table. This is exactly what we'd be changing here. If you can see there in the red, we'd be adding, formerly those spaces were blank, we'd be adding a 15-foot setback requirement for side and rear from the OI, the office and institutional, the highway commercial, the light industrial, and the heavy industrial zoning districts. And again, these are all going to be for when they abut other commercial districts. The planning board did look at this at their March hearing and voted unanimously for approval of it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about it.
Mr. Chair? Yes, sir. Yes, so I heard a couple of different things. I just wanted to clarify in layman's language. These setbacks, in essence, already exist in other areas in our ordinance. By putting it here, it'll make it more plain for folks who are looking to develop their property. In other words, if we're looking in paragraph 1, it says there's no setbacks, but then you go back to page 6 and you've got to have this requirement, or you go to page 10 and there's another setback there. This will make it more uniform throughout our document. Is that what I heard?
I think that's a fair way to put it, sir, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just, I guess for some further clarification, those red numbers that you see there were not included, so the question was whether or not there was any requirements since it was blank.
Correct. So it was kind of ambiguous before, but especially since there's kind of other places where it kind of already did, exactly what we're talking about. This just kind of adds that further clarity.
So in a zoning ordinance, if something is not mentioned, then there's not a restriction to it, or there's not any governance over it, correct?
Yeah, that's typically how that would be interpreted.
And so this is more for just educating the public, because in the past we've added things, and when we adopted the development ordinance, we knew it was a breathing document. It would require some amendments throughout time, just because there's no way to cover everything. So when things come up, sometimes we have to make adjustments and additions to that ordinance, because if they're not included in the ordinance, then there's no prohibition against something, or no approval of something. But mainly, if it's not listed, it is approved. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
So if something was, say, added to a zoning district, then it's only, that's the rules within that zoning district, right?
Correct.
Okay, and so if something was not in the ordinance, then, maybe a use, then it could go in any zoning district. Is that right?
With a use in particular, it might get a little trickier. We tend to, a lot of ordinance, and I'm actually off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure if we have specific language in our ordinance on how to direct someone to do that, but uses will oftentimes get categorized in what's already existing in the ordinance.
Right.
But in many other regulations, I think that would be a fair way to put it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions before I open the public hearing? If not, I'll open the public hearing. No one signed up for this public hearing. Does anybody want to speak? If not, we will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, do we have any further questions, or do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Commissioner
make a
Barrow.
Motion to approve case number 2025-05.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Kellum. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye. Thank you. Next public hearing is Bill Lester. Going to talk to us about the Community Development Block Grant.
Board, the purpose of this public hearing is actually to close out an existing CDBG economic development grant. The grant was received to provide utilities for the on-tax operations. It was approved under CDBG number 19E3122. The total project is complete. The project provided sewer improvements to the facility and surrounded area at a total cost of $2,720,857. Of which $1,900,098 was provided by the CDBG Economic Development Grant, with a balance of $820,759 from Rockingham County. A quick side note right there, that money was provided through other grants and earmarks. So that was one of the projects we were leveraging some of the money you had, doing some economic development work. The project actually completed the corporate park pump station and improvements, as well as the Friddle Road pump station that brings everything back north. The project also included a commitment from the industry on text to commit at least 204 new full-time jobs, with a requirement that at least 60% of them are filled by low and moderate income individuals. They met that requirement, and I think our last count was they actually had 278 new jobs, and they did exceed the 60% requirement. As I mentioned, the primary expenditures were all sewer improvements and supporting services to install the sewer improvements. Installed 2 pump stations, 8,700 feet of 8-inch force main, 3,800 feet of 4-inch force main. I'm sorry, it was 2 pump stations. 2,800 linear feet of gravity sewer, which most of served the on-text facility directly. Everything was completed in that with some extra funds to do some spare pumps and things for those facilities to strengthen and provide redundancy in times of emergencies. That's pretty much a summary of what happened there. The purpose of the public hearing is to gather any citizen comments prior to officially closing out the project. If there's no comments that need to be addressed publicly or followed up on, the board would be asked to approve the signing of the closeout documents and submittal to NC Commerce to officially close everything out. And with that, I'll answer any questions and allow you to do the public hearing in case someone has some comments.
Okay. Any questions for Bill before we open the public hearing? If not, we'll open the public hearing. No one signed up to speak. Is there anyone that has anything that they want to address the board about this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve closure.
Motion by Commissioner Richardson,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Barrow. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next on the agenda is a presentation, and we have Ms. Dawn Sharaba from the Reidsville Area Foundation, and she's going to talk to us about the Behavioral Health Community Plan.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dawn Sharaba, Executive Director of Reidsville Area Foundation. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Tango Moore, also of Reidsville Area Foundation, and she helped facilitate the youth work group. Vanessa Stubbs with the Rockingham County Health Collaborative. She facilitated the prevention group. And then you all know Carrie Dickerson, who served on the adult group. So really quickly, I do want to acknowledge and say thank you to Houston. He served with us through this whole process and was integral in helping us get some questions answered and to kind of think through what commissioners were investigating, on a state level. So thank you for that. Let me figure out how to drive this thing first. Okay. So this is not just our plan. This was a plan that engaged 61 individuals, over 37 organizations convening to address behavioral health and wellness across Rockingham County. We do have some people here today who participate, so I do want to acknowledge them. So if you all will stand up. I'm going to make you stand up. Thank you. Thank you. And I did want to do that because this is not one entity, not one organization. It is a genuine community plan, and all the folks are listed there as well. So as you all can recall, 8 local agencies collaborated together to fund the Crescendo Consulting Group Behavioral Health Assessment. And the total cost for that was $125,000, and that was completed in November and December of 2023. So they provided us with 6 high-level action areas, and within that, further investigation into our county and meeting with community members came up with 8 categories of need. So those are behavioral health advocacy and policy change, awareness and stigma reduction, behavioral health prevention, early intervention and harm reduction, behavioral health services for people in the criminal justice system, workforce shortage, retention and recruitment, continuum of care for youth as well as adults, and then social determinants of health. So how do we get here? So those findings from Crescendo were presented to the board at the November 2023 meeting. There were 51 high-level strategies, and they recommended we convene a work group of community leaders to investigate those strategies and figure out what would work best for our community. Not all communities are the same, so really digging into what meets the needs of our folks. So in January, we signed a memorandum of understanding with you all to co-facilitate those work groups. From March to July, leadership committee formed. We did outreach to other communities, both regional and national. We emailed about 500 community members who participated in the Crescendo report, and then began sending out invitations to community members. So 4 work groups met August through March. They reviewed the plan, they brought in consultants, they engaged community experts, and then we used a prioritization matrix to rank strategies based on their impact, feasibility, population served, and sustainability. So that is what we have for you for tonight. So from that 51, we dug deep, and we have 77 community-based strategies across 5 focus areas, and that is advocacy, awareness, prevention, access to care, and behavioral health workforce. So everyone associated with this plan agreed, voted, put input, and that's what we're presenting to you tonight. We will launch it after we present to you with a press release later this week or early next week. So I'm going to talk to you how to use this report. You all should have it. First is strategy quick glance. So that is page 6. So this is for folks who just want a high-level strategy, bucket areas. Behavioral health planning is not necessarily your thing, but you do understand sort of big, broad strokes approach. So that is even looking at supporting recovery courts, prioritizing our suicide prevention 988 messaging, supporting local harm reduction strategies. So big picture, 1 page, the whole report on 1 page. If you are interested in digging a little deeper, this is a summary that has 1 line for each of the 77 strategies. It acknowledges where within the report it is. And also what I want to point out is on the right-hand column is big wins, or big projects or quick wins. So whoever begins implementing this will have a guide, an easy structured way to say, we can do this quickly, we can start this plan immediately, or we need more time to kind of think and consider and invest. So a couple examples listed on this page for you as well. And then if you want to get real deep, Every single recommendation, all 77 of them, have a page dedicated to community implementation. So these guides are worksheets that provide strategy, ongoing. It will guide the community in implementing teams throughout specific steps, clarity on objectives, timelines, et cetera. So it is the playbook by which someone would pick this up and implement it in our community. That is on page 12 through 32. You have two that are listed here. So on this page, if you go to page 22, we'll take one for example. This is one of Vanessa's team's pages. So the overall recommendation, number 6, is to develop substance use prevention education programs for youth and young adults, including smoking, vaping, and alcohol. So across the top is the community importance ranking, so how the committee itself ranked 5 stars, 4 stars, also references the pages. But then you see 6 strategies listed there. On the left-hand side, if it has an asterisk, that is an evidence-based strategy. So a proven strategy within that field that will work. And then also potential needs requirements. So digging a little deeper into if we did this, this is what we need within our community. And then also the quick win, big project, impact scale. At the bottom, people who are already doing that work or other resources to help someone begin implementation. All right, so thinking through next steps and why we are here tonight. We are proposing a collaborative funding model. We have talked to county leadership on numerous occasions, and we envision a model where we can work together to share the costs and responsibilities of actually implementing the community behavioral health plan. It would allow us to deliver the services and activities prioritized by community, not by one agency, not by one entity, but our community. So we are asking you if you would be interested to partner for 5 years to host the position within the Department of Health and Human Services. Estimated cost $150,000 to $200,000 annually to support the position as well as startup. This would include Reidsville Area Foundation, the county, as well as other funding partners. So we're not asking for money this evening. What we're asking for is to enter into a memorandum of understanding for us to work with the county to define a scope of work, to develop a position description for the community plan coordinator, and draft a project budget. This would also engage PTRC as they work through the position descriptions for the county. And then we would come back to you in 3 or 4 months with a more comprehensive plan and commitments, hopefully from other agencies and entities. I will stop there, and we hopefully can answer any questions you have.
Gentlemen, do we have questions? Commissioner Barrow is our liaison with some of our mental health boards, if you would.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody here and everyone else who was involved with this project. I mean, it was very daunting at the beginning, and it was a lot of work and very dense. And obviously, this is a big problem which requires big solutions. So I just want to start with that, saying thank you. I actually have a question for our Assistant County Manager, Derek Southern, if he's available back here. So, Derek, could I grab you for a second? I know Dawn said she's had conversations with you, but could you just elaborate a little bit on, as far as us homing this position if we decide to move that way? Can you give us any insight into that?
Yes, Dawn met with Lance and myself multiple different times, and we were talking about all the needs and the understanding of the community. We have very similar positions that work on the opioid side. We also have positions that we're going to create to coordinate community engagement. So the belief was that it would be housed here so we could reach out to all the community partners and try to drive this initiative forward.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you, Derek.
And I believe as far as some of the money, if not all of the county's portion, would have something to do with the opioid dollars.
Yeah, that is our belief. We're going to definitely ask funding from other partners in the county, but the funding that we would support through the county would come with MOE funds, which are funds that are required to be spent on mental health in the county.
So one ask would be from you all as well, and I don't know if Don mentioned that or not, is to allow us to be able to solicit additional funds from other agencies or entities in order to develop that relationship so that we all spread the wealth as far as getting this position, starting these programs.
Okay. And then the dates I see are right around budget as far as implementation. But with this coming from the opioid money, it would not have any impact as far as our local dollars budget. Is that right?
No, it wouldn't. It just depends on how much we'd utilize this for actual opioid and substance abuse. As Derek mentioned, we have maintenance of effort funds that we have some flexibility with, so that would be part of the budget, and that would be undesignated. So if you guys so choose, you can designate a portion of that to go towards the program.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you. More for the public information. Can you, Dawn, can you speak a little bit? What are we getting for our 150 to 200,000 besides one person that's going to act as a coordinator?
Y'all saw that Derek just left me, didn't you? I will say, and you know, we are shooting.
And I'm not going to help you because I represent the PTRC
right.
here, you know.
So our goal is 150 to 200,000 annually. When we worked to develop the collaborative funding model for the plan itself, there were 8 different entities. So our intent is to reach out to those same partners and potentially a few more to gather support for this implementation. So our hope is to fund the coordinator position as well as some of the quick wins that you saw listed on the forms to begin some of that work. I think there are some easy things, mental health first aid, launching some of the work through our public health initiative, you know, public health educators. There's so many that can get started and gain momentum, and the intent is to gather, you know, federal and state funding, so leverage our funding that we put in to sustain that position. And we have the ability, you know, at RAF and DHHS to help facilitate those grants and write those grants. You're welcome.
And Dawn, I think I called on Commissioner Richardson. If there's something else you want to add, then I got the appearance that there was maybe an answer to one of my questions or something, but if you think it's been covered, then that's fine.
Yeah, it was just about the funding partners and our intent to get, and we're working to schedule, you know, conversations with VIA and other community partners. So that stuff is in the works, but we did not want to start, you know, large-scale outreach without you all agreeing to move forward.
Yes. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Yeah, if I could make a suggestion, and this goes for VIA and the PTRC, if you can narrow this down to have some figures, because some of us are going to be going to those agencies and talking about money, and so we want to be able to give them as accurate an estimation, because there are grants out there available, and we intend to approach those folks for what they can do for us.
And we agree with that. I think one of the asks tonight is for us to plan a detailed budget. Right now, those are just broad stroke numbers, so we want to come back with you with the final ask in 3 to 4 months with a detailed budget, so we know exactly what the position costs are, and then what budget we can put through for the quick wins, and then what grant applications we go for the bigger moves.
Okay.
I mean, there are plan coordinators in a lot of our urban communities, so Charlotte, you know, Mecklenburg, Wake, Durham County. We would be one of the first as a rural county to have this sort of position. So Derek and I have been working with some of those counties to understand what their budgets look like, but also scale them down to a rural community. So,
Gentlemen, do we have a motion to approve that memorandum of understanding?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye. Aye. Oh, did we miss something?
I forgot one thing. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
We already do have a commitment through the Health Collaborative. So on the back, there's an insert UNC School of Medicine, working through the Health Collaborative, has committed $50,000 to integrated health implementation in our community. So they are launching that with scholarships for our providers to attend the Integrated Health Conference. So anyone in our community who is interested, who is a provider, can apply for that scholarship and go to that Integrated Care Conference. So thank you.
You, and thank you to all of you for the work that you've been doing on this. And thank you for being here.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Dawn deserves a huge amount of credit for this. If it wasn't for her, this wouldn't have happened. So along with her team and Dawn particularly, I give a hats off to her and her hard work and effort.
Yes. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Kick this off too. So if you all see
Yes.
Dave, thank you to him as well. So thank you all.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I do
Commissioner
have a
Hall.
question. Did Houston's motion include the ability for administration to reach out to other funding sources?
Yes, as presented.
We'll certainly amend it if you didn't get that. But yes, and your second as well. And the vote, everybody's good with that? Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have an update on the jail inspections. And I believe we've got three.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
If I could, while they're making their way up here, you know, I've had a couple members of the community just reach out and ask, why are we so concerned about this now? And maybe
Sure.
that's something we can address tonight as well.
Sure. I'll say, we had several incidents that occurred in the jail. Some of those were very significant incidents. Our role is to oversee the tax dollars for the county residents. The sheriff by statute has two responsibilities: serve papers and manage the jail.
Courts.
Pardon?
And supervise work security in the courts.
Yes, but as far as statutory duties, it's those two. When the performance impacts the residents, then our job is to start asking questions because we're responsible for that financial responsibility. Prior to May of '24, when incidents occurred in the jail, county administration and commissioners were constantly told that the sheriff was doing all that he could and that the incidents were unavoidable. At times, we had a former commissioner that offered solutions, and initially that was turned down, but eventually adopted. Then around budget time of '24, which is April or May, we learned that the insurance was going to be an issue. And the reason cited by the insurance company was non-reporting of incidents and potential claims. We were able to get through the budget, but knew something had to occur as far as to make improvements. A few months later, I asked for the latest jail report. That latest jail report was from April of '24, and that occurred in September of '24. That was the most recent because they come twice a year. And at that time, in September, nothing had been corrected as far as the April report. Since then, we've asked for every inspection to be provided to members of this board and every response from the Sheriff's Department to the Department of Health and Human Services to also be provided to this, every member of this board. We've seen great improvements, and for that, we're thankful. Having jail inspection updates on the county's agenda is something that we'll continue to do because we are financially responsible, and we've seen a great deal of improvement since starting that. So just wanted to address that. We've had some questions, people asking, why are y'all asking these questions? Because it's not the norm for a lot of counties, but those issues that popped up were also not the norm. So, we're doing what we can, and thank you for being here.
We appreciate it. We
Yes,
appreciate it. First of all, I'd like to introduce Captain Wendell Brown. He is my jail administrator, and also Spence Stoltz. He is his assistant. We have another Lieutenant Quasi. He's probably in the jail right now helping out over there. But at this time, I've asked him to prepare that report and an update on their inspection just recently, so they will provide that information to you, and I'll be here with them when they do that. If we can go ahead and proceed, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, please.
All right. Our inspection was on March the 3rd, around 12:30. And I'm just going to go through the deficiencies that we had on that report. Okay. First of which was various lights out throughout the facility. We had our maintenance man to go through and check all the lights. The week prior, all the lights were operational, okay? We had an inspection on Monday morning. Lights will go out. However, I will say that on our inspection, it did not say what lights were out, okay? I went through and I did an inspection afterwards, and I didn't see any lights out. And on the 4th, as I was typing out the plan of correction, I stated that there were no lights that were not operable at that time. The second item was the sprinkler system inspection. This was actually located on the courthouse side of the building. What that had to do with our inspection, he wrote us up for it. County maintenance had already had the part. They were in the process of getting it put in. As of today, that part has been replaced. Sallyport Gate, we had been going back and forth with the company that was going to repair our Sallyport Gate. They come out, they said we needed a whole new gate. We waited for the gate to come in. They put the gate in, then they said we needed a bar. So we waited on the bar. Everything is operational as of the 31st of March with our Sallyport gates.
May I add one thing? It took, what, 5.5 months to get this vendor, and this is like a sole vendor, and we're trying to get another vendor, because if somebody runs into our gate again, when they repaired the gate, they had the gate part, the roll-up part of the gate, they didn't have the bar below it, so they had to fabricate that, but it took how long?
The gate was installed on 12/23, and the bar was installed on 3/31.
So we've really had a difficulty with this vendor, so we're gonna try to find somebody, but I don't know. That was the closest vendor, I think. Is that correct? Okay.
Next item would be our firefighters panel. That is an air system, and over time, air seeps out of it, just like it would your tires on your vehicle. What the system is designed to do is regenerate itself, and once it fixes itself, all lights are operational. I actually took a picture the following day, and I included it with my response to the state inspector, showing that all lights were operational. About 2 weeks ago, county maintenance come through. I walked through with them, and lo and behold, we opened up the door, the lights on again. The following day, I went out there, the lights off again. So I think that's just the system doing what it's supposed to do.
What was the connectivity to the court side? Was that the same thing you talked about earlier today?
No, that would be the sprinkler system.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Fifth item on the list was the sink in the dorm. That was replaced or repaired on 3/6, so it was 3 days after the inspection. The sixth item was all showers needed water pressure adjustments. Okay, I take offense to that because he did not go in the E-Pod, so how could he say all showers? So with that being
He is the jail inspector.
With that being said, it was a few showers in G-Pod, a few showers in H-Pod. It was a diaphragm that needed to be replaced. Wilson replaced it. All shower pressure is resolved or returned. Female population. All right. On this day, it was a Monday. It was Superior Court Week, so we get a lot of writs in for court. We have no control over how many come in. Okay, we got a deficiency for being 7 over 48, okay? Over the next 2 days, we had 23 females going to court. As of 3/7, which was later in the week, we were back down below 48 female inmates. So what we've done is contacted surrounding agencies to make plans to send our females to their agency when we get close to 48.
Neighboring jails.
Neighboring jails.
It's a cost factor.
Correct.
It's
It'll
transportation.
be $50 a day plus medical and manpower to transport them to
Well, that's
that
the way
front.
we're going to try to keep that.
Lights and windows covered, that's one thing that we're gonna get rolled up for that. We have to give them sheets. They'll take a sheet and cover their light. We have to give them a blanket. They'll take a blanket and cover their light. Yes, we can write them up, but most of them don't care. I'll take that write up. That's just the world we live in. Painting of cells, we continue to paint cells when we get space available to paint cells. He actually wrote us up for something new this time, the painting of rails, handrails. The only way to paint our handrails would be in the middle of the night when no one's out walking so that the rails will have time to dry. I'll coordinate with our maintenance man to get that done, but as far as the cells, when we get an empty cell, we get it painted. All right. And last but not least is our rounds. Our rounds have come a long ways. We strive for 100%. And 100% would be, we have to make 2 rounds an hour, not to exceed 40 minutes, regular rounds. And then 4 rounds per hour on suicidal inmates, not to exceed 20 minutes. So at the beginning of each rotation, I pull the rounds from the prior shift that they worked, and I discuss the rounds with them. On this particular day, we were at 94%. He wrote us up on the 1 round. The only thing that I can say about that is we're working 9 officers down. That's 25%. We're 25% down as far as staffing. Officers are doing all they can do. They missed a round. But like I said, we're 94%. It's a long ways. That's all I have.
Yes, Commissioner Hall.
You mentioned a couple things about the sprinkler system and the fire panel in particular. It just sounds like that thing's iffy. I'm just concerned.
Let they explain that, because it was a court side, remember that?
So I think you're talking about the fire panel.
Yes.
With the light, yes,
Okay,
sir.
hold on, I'm sorry.
So the way it was explained to me by county maintenance was it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
So
Okay?
county maintenance has looked at it?
Yes. If there was a fault, I would get a phone call telling me that there's something wrong with the system, and I have not gotten a phone call.
So it cycles through, and then it'll clear itself.
Correct.
And you said the sprinkler system was on the courthouse side.
Yes.
Is that
It's a backflow. It was on courthouse
backflow
side.
preventer? Okay.
But it was with a signal on our side there, right?
Well, he asked to see the report. I gave him the report,
okay.
and he wrote us up for it.
So it's my understanding that the system is operational. It's been operational. It's not been out of operation. Is that what I'm hearing?
Firefighters panel.
Your
It's
fire
not been
panel.
out of operation.
The backflow was, but it had been fixed as of today. And also, Mike Bowen, one of our maintenance HVAC, they're actually going to keep some of those in stock so that if it does break again, they can rebuild it. So they're going to keep a few down at the maintenance shop.
Good, okay. Yeah, I'll just, thank you, Lance.
Commissioner Barrow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Captain Brown, I just, for the benefit of the public, at one point you said our maintenance man. Now, you guys have a deputy that does maintenance, but you're referring to your deputy that does maintenance, not county maintenance. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And then I took from what you were saying that there's a maximum limit of 48 women incarcerated at a time. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. It was one more thing. Okay, the lights. It seems like they're always getting us for lights. And do they give us a picture, or do they indicate which lights are out? Because
In the past, he has. This time, he didn't say it.
okay, because I was wondering, it's one thing if you say, well, this time this light was out and next time that light's out, but if it's the same one every time, then, that's concerning. But if it's always a different light, then, lights go bad. The only other question I had was in regards to documentation. So you said that it was 94%, I believe, is for the rounds. When someone has an issue with a round, one, I know you guys have said in the past that you have to have some sort of documentation on why the round was missed or why it was delayed. Do they still ding you for that if it's documented?
In their eyes, a late round is a late round.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
But there was documentation on why the round was late, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, if I could address two things with Commissioner Barrett. One, we're looking at, our maintenance staff is working with the jail staff to change out those lights to LED because they're constantly going out. The LED lights last 3 or 4 years. The other, as I understand it, the reason that particular round was missed is they were serving lunch at that time, and he just couldn't make it because of the lack of staff over there.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Kellum?
I got a couple questions. First, I want to thank y'all for what you do. You said something about the sink in one of the dorms. What exactly had happened to the sink?
That I do not have an answer for. I do know that if something's not going their way, they'll break something.
So that's,
So they've broken the handle, where you turn it on, and just slam it open and break it.
okay. I got another question here.
If you could, just,
Yes.
Roy, can you pick him up when he's not in front of the mic? So when you answer,
I'm sorry.
if you don't mind,
sorry.
just so the people at home.
If you will, for the public, with the sink, what was going on?
Okay, I can't answer that. I do know that sometimes the inmates will break stuff just because they don't like what's happening.
Okay, all right. You said something about painting cells as well. How often do you get an empty cell, or, how difficult is it?
Daily, well, weekly, not during the weekend because I'm not there. I'll look at the numbers and see if we can move someone around to get an empty cell to paint. I can't really put a time frame on it. It's just whenever the numbers are low enough to where we can move people around. Because we also have to pay attention to classification. We don't want to put a predator with prey.
Right.
Because then we're liable. So I have to look at the total picture and see if I can move someone. Most of the time, we move someone to the dorm to create space elsewhere. And if I can't move anybody to the dorm, I can't.
Yeah, thank you. Captain Brown, you said sometimes they'll damage the sink. Have we charged these inmates with this damage?
You have to know who did it. We have 56 inmates in the dorm. They can go over to the bathroom, damage a sink, and we not know about
A
it.
bathroom is a common space. It's not 2 people per cell.
Correct.
And I guess that was my same question regarding the graffiti. I think in the report it said, people continue to paint graffiti on the walls. And have we been able to charge anyone for that?
So out of the cells that we have painted, I've only had to have one cell repainted, and we were not able to identify who did that to that one cell.
But that's in a cell, though, right? Not in general.
Correct.
That's with 2 people per cell.
Correct.
Okay.
Once again, I can go and see the writing on the wall and say, who did this? If no one confesses to it, I can't charge
So
them both.
even with it's only 2 people, you couldn't charge both of them?
Well,
you can't. Why not?
We have to prove who did what was done as, as part of the process and the legal process and investigations. We can go to the district attorney and bring that to their attention and see if they're willing to prosecute. But again, we'll have to see what the district attorney says on that. But, I know we've gone to the district attorney on other cases, and we can look into that. But right now, you've got to still prove what they did.
So it could have been both of them.
Well, let me go back. If I've got graffiti already on the walls, how can I tell, who started what? We get a clean cell, that gives us a better chance.
Right,
So we're trying to get those cells painted.
That's what we're
and
after,
monitor
yes.
them better
That's
so
what
we
we're
can do that. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I believe he said that
Yes.
he's got a new one that was painted, or, one that was painted and have graffiti in one that was recently painted.
Right. So it hadn't gotten as bad as the other cells. It was a few pencil marks here and there. But I noticed that this cell was painted. Let's get it repainted.
So if you did not
Well, now, okay.
charge anyone, did they lose any privileges?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of privileges did they lose?
So when we.
And so
most the time
both
when
of them would have lost the privileges? or-
Right.
Okay.
So as far as charging them criminally, I will not charge them criminally because I can't say who did it, okay? But I can lock both inmates down, take their tablet, no visitation, no canteen. Those are our avenues for discipline for pretty much anything.
So we take both of their video games and movies away, and then the education tool and communication tool, and we're unsuccessful in investigating as far as who actually did it. Is that, okay. Want to just get some clarification. Colonel Smith was here probably 6 weeks ago, 4 to 6 weeks ago. And the lights. So we knew that the inspection was coming up. They were waiting on a part to come in with one of the lights, and that's why it was not working. But based on what you're telling me is that part had come in, it had been fixed.
Yes.
And then some light went back out. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay. And as far as making the rounds and seeing the sheets up, you said that we can't do anything. People are going to put sheets up because they don't care about getting written up. Are we taking any action when you're making the rounds as far as these sheets that are hanging up?
Yes. All we can do is tell them to take it down.
You can't take it down?
We can take it down, but they get sheets, or they get a sheet, they get a blanket, they get a towel. They're going to hang it right back up. I can't take their sheet, towel, or blanket from them. All I can do is take it down.
But we're telling them to take it down. We're not taking it down is what I understood you to say.
No. What I was meaning when I said that was the inspector come through and he saw that. Okay, this was right after lunch. Okay, I'm not sure which pod he saw it in. Odds are it was H pod. One of our things to come out and walk is your cell needs to be in order to come out and walk. If H pod has something on their light, we tell them to take it down. They're locked down for the day.
Okay. And then related a little bit to the capacity issue, had somebody ask me this the other day. Do we have inmates from other counties that we're housing at this point in time?
No, sir.
That's
Not
what I
unless
was
they're here
thinking.
on a writ. That's
Yes,
the
sir.
only reason.
Okay. Any other questions? Gentlemen? Commissioner Kellum?
You said that if you catch them with the towels, that they go down, or sheets, they go down on lockdown. Can you explain what a lockdown is?
It would take all of their privileges. That would be coming out to walk. They will still get a tablet, but we restrict the tablet. So the only thing they can do is put in a sick call or a grievance, and law library. Mail. If it gets to be an ongoing thing, we'll take canteen, because odds are it's just going to be for the day, because they know they're not coming out to walk. But if it's an ongoing thing, we'll take their canteen. That's done on a week-by-week basis, as well as visitation, week by week.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain Brown.
Mr. Richardson?
Whoever wants to answer this.
Go ahead, Colonel.
Probably you, since you just went through it. Did these various disciplines discourage the undesirable behavior, or are they ineffective?
As far as us disciplining the inmates?
Yes.
Honestly, if they're in H-pod, they don't care.
Tell them what H-pod is.
H-pod is going to be 23 and 1. We let out one cell at a time, so odds are you're not going to come out every day. So us locking them down really means nothing to them, because in their eyes, I'm not going to walk anyways.
Privileges.
Well, I'm not a jailer, but I suggest you look at a different sort of in-house discipline. Did I hear you say earlier in your presentation that the state report, particularly concerning lights, is in error?
I can't really go on record of saying that, but what I'm saying is when the week prior, Friday when we went home, all lights were working. Monday morning when we come back, the state inspector comes through. He says we have lights out. He did not say which lights were out.
Now, you do have conversation with these state inspectors
Yes.
after the fact to point out such things as you just told me.
The conversation after the inspection, he didn't say anything about lights.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but do they listen?
There is an appeal process for state inspections. I just wonder, will that make things worse for me if I push the issue? So in my response, I just said all lights are operable as a 4-4.
I totally understand what you say. I just don't want you to be accused or blamed of stuff that's not so. Are the specific areas that are going to be inspected, do they go through a pre-inspection?
Yes. Lieutenant Quasi does a pre-inspection when it comes close to inspection time, and we go through with Mr. Wilson, that's our maintenance guy, and see that those items are fixed.
Okay. Now, this is a big summary, and I realize that you might not want to cross your heart and hope to die and all of that, but are there any outstanding actions that need repair right now?
No, sir.
None.
I confirm that.
Other than the continual painting.
Yes.
Doors.
Yes, yes.
Like you suffer, I'm going to call it vandalism for lack of a better word, a lot of that. How have you adjusted your observation or any other actions to catch them?
We can't run cameras inside the cells.
Yes.
And so just observation, what we can see, what we can observe during inspections, individual cell inspections, and make notations as if you see anything different, you know.
And I can tell you that I had a female inmate. I told her, if this is not off the wall, you will not come out. She got it off the wall. It was some pencil marks. She's a musician, so she was drawing musical notes.
Just as long as we don't have to paint it, you know. Okay.
Do we have to give them pencils?
Unfortunately, they have to be in touch with their loved ones.
Listen, I appreciate what you do, and I understand there are a lot of technicalities you have to accommodate in the performance of your job out there. I would say if there are ways that we can help, and certainly the manager with the maintenance and repair, but it's a tough job.
Yes, sir.
I guess I know they've got the tablets, which allows for communication. So those that, we still have to give them pencils too?
So everyone does not have access to the tablet for communications like that. So it's free to write a letter.
Okay.
You have to pay to communicate with your family through the tablet.
Gentlemen, just a few things is, first of all, I listened to your introduction, and I will say this, I appreciate you taking interest because I'm in my 27th year as sheriff, and for about 25 years, I didn't see this interest, and I appreciate it. That shows me some support in carrying what we do and the men and women that work in our detention setting, so I appreciate you. But I do want to say something else, is I know that you guys have to make, the commissioners have to make a lot of decisions in your position as board members. And I'm concerned about the use of our precious tax dollars, too, for our operations, as you are. I hear a lot of comments from some of our board members in the past, and I may not agree with, I agree to disagree, but to better inform you, our commission board, and to build better relationship with you all, that's what my intention is to do. I'm going to issue an invitation to you tonight, to each one of you, to come to the Rockingham County Jail Facility any Saturday evening starting at feeding time at 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. till lights are out. in order to receive a supervised orientation from my jail supervisors and detention staff to help you see and to better understand real-life issues that these men and women face that come into our facility every day. These professionals that come in and try to provide a safe and secure jail. This invitation is extended to you from this Saturday to the last Saturday in May. That's from 6 to 10. And I think you'll be very much welcome, and we appreciate your interest in participating in this offer. Captain Wendell Brown can be reached at 634-3232, our main number, for scheduling and schedule a day to come in and see us. But I would encourage you, please, to better understand what we're talking about, some of the things that you might not be familiar with, come to our jail, spend 6 to 10 one Saturday night, show our detention officers how much we care as we do. And I think we're going to come a long way working together, our Commissioner Board and the Sheriff's Office and our detention facility. I thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration of my request and for this.
I got just one question on that. When do the inspectors come?
They came a month early. According to
I'm talking about what day of the week?
What day of the week?
Yes, sir.
It can vary, Ken. Monday through Friday, yeah.
And what hours?
Anytime.
24 hours a day?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the reason why I say Saturday at 6, because you get to see the feeding issues. You kind of see the operation and what the people are doing inside and stuff like this. And at 10 o'clock, you go down, okay? But something else I wanted to let you know, because, Mr. Chair, you bring it up, and I want you to know this, that the FCC under federal rules have Mr. Carr with the FCC that regulates communications in jails. They lowered the rate. The rate, I think, max is 21 cents a minute. They lowered it to 2 cents a minute.
Right.
Which means less revenue for the use of the tablets. The other thing is the the National Sheriff's Association, which I'm a member, are taking issue with this conversation, and they're involved in the court process, what they're doing. I talked to the executive director, Mr. Jonathan Thompson, about this, and they're working to try to get Mr. Carr to consider reestablishing those rates, because 2 cents, it cuts out a lot of things that help us. And it is revenue that comes to the county. So I just want to make you aware of that if you didn't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. And you feed them more than just Saturday nights too, right?
Sir?
You feed them more than just Saturday nights, right? Okay. All right. It's 3 meals a day, right? 7 days a week.
It's 2 hots and 1 cold. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You was talking about earlier about the one guy with you that goes around and checks everything. He looks, make sure lights, everything's going. Do y'all create a checklist, like something that we could see that shows that monthly, weekly, you went through and looked at all these items and that it was either a pass or a no?
So are you referring to the pre-inspection?
Yes.
So that's done twice a year, around the time of the inspection. And yes, I get a packet about this thing, but it's pictures and all, so.
That your staffs went through and looked at to make sure everything was up and going before the inspection? Okay, all right. And I would probably take y'all up on the visit. I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna meet with department heads coming up soon, I think with Lance. And I think if I'm gonna meet with the rest of the county, I would do that as well. So I appreciate the invitation.
And if you come before 6, I can tell you, you can get a good meal.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Just for transparency, can we look at putting all of those jail inspections and the responses on the county website? Anybody got any issue with doing that? I mean, since we've gotten involved, we've gotten a good response. So. No issue?
Talked about it, I think that'd be fair.
All right. Next, we've got an issue that has to do with spending some money with the school system. And I think Lance, I appreciate Dr. Stover for being here. Lance is going to kind of touch on that real briefly. And if we've got questions, Dr. Stover's here.
Yes, Mr. Chair, so thank you. I reached out to Ms. Young, and we talked about it. The schools are requesting to reallocate $60,000 from the Bethany wastewater plant upgrades to the central office generator project. Both projects are in their capital plan. They budgeted $300,000 for the wastewater plant upgrades, and the project came in at $205,139.77, which was under budget by roughly $95,000. They budgeted $200,000 for the central office generator. The bid came in at $219,000. That will have engineering fees and additional expenses in order to bring the generator online. They are seeking your approval to reallocate $60,000 from the wastewater plant upgrade project to the central office generator to cover those additional costs.
Okay. Thank you. I believe the project that we've got here before us is on that capital improvement plan that we've adopted some time ago.
Yes, sir.
So, any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Commissioner Hall.
I would just like to make the statement that when we adopted this plan a little over a year ago, I think January or February of last year, we said it was going to be a living document. It would change as budgets came in and she got pricing, or the school got pricing. These things would be modified. So this is just a simple exercise doing just exactly what we've directed. So, we appreciate the schools bringing it to us, and we wanted to talk about it because, it is a lot of money, and we think it's important that it be discussed openly. So while I don't have any issue with it, I am glad that we're bringing this up and talking about it in an open meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe this is a question for Dr. Stover. So I think this is the fourth or fifth time this year that I've had the pleasant news of hearing that we've had projects coming in under budget. And this is a wonderful thing. I'm just curious, who's giving you these estimates? Because every estimate you guys have come before us this year has said it's something went under budget. So I just want to know, are they really bad at giving estimates, or like how are we keep coming in tens of thousands of dollars under budget?
Well, one of the things is we don't publish what our prices are. When we go out to bid, we say that whatever it's going to cost, and that has been successful for us. For the wastewater treatment plant specifically, we use some of our maintenance guys to help out in that process, so that saved us a considerable amount of money. It was one of those projects we didn't know how much it was going to be. We had to pay by the truckload to redo the field, and so.
I'm not mad about it.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not a home run because we're $19,000 over budget for the generator. And, we've had a couple projects that were over budget. I think the pricing when we initially did this was affected by the pandemic and then supply chain issues. I think we're going to see some more kind of under bids, unfortunately, as the, uncertainty with supplies may or may not continue.
Very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments?
I got a question for
Yes, sir.
Dr. Stover.
Commissioner Kelly.
For the public, where's the generator located at?
It's going to be in the central office, and I have no idea wherever they say they need to put the generator in the central office.
And could you, what did our guys help with the project? You said some of the county guys was able to help
Yeah,
to
our
save some money.
maintenance staff for the Bethany wastewater treatment specifically, once they cleared out a section, they came in and helped install some of the heads that needed to be in and did some of the filling.
Okay. All right, thank you.
They're great guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, do we have a motion, gentlemen?
Have a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Hall. All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any new business?
No, sir.
Commissioner comments. Commissioner Kellum?
Let me pull it up right here. I believe this is the start of no charge week at the landfill. There are restrictions and guidelines about what you can bring and how much you can bring and dump. And I hope everyone had a good Easter weekend and was able to spend time with your families. And I don't want to forget the reason behind this time of year: the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. In the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 5, but he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement for our peace was upon him, and his stripes we were all healed. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to remind everyone that tomorrow is the opening ceremony for senior games. That's at 10 o'clock at the Madison Mayodan Rec, and that will be going through May 23rd. There'll be a performing arts show at 11 on the 23rd at First Presbyterian Church in Eden. So we'd like everyone to come out tomorrow, come out and compete, sign up, and just enjoy the senior games. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson.
Well, I hadn't planned to say anything about this, but I want to recognize the school system and my fellow commissioners, Berger and Hall here with this long-range plan, which I think is helping out. And frankly, considering the scope and variety of activities that are involved, to have as few reviews and monetary adjustments, I think speaks well of those involved in the planning. So congratulations. And by all means, congratulate you also on the economies that you were able to make in this particular one. I usually recognize an individual within county government that has made a particular contribution, but this evening in our social services, I'm recognizing, you correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Dickerson, but probably 40 folks plus that work in social services. And these folks in the last 45 days have dealt with 29 children that have come into foster care within the county. And our workers, sometimes through the weekend and at all hours, have worked tirelessly to ensure that these youngsters are taken care of, their medical needs, therapeutic needs, all the basics, as well as serving as interim parents, actually, and taking care of these youngsters. All these social workers within the child welfare section that you have there are continuous advocates to improve the system and are constantly seeking foster families and other ways to better serve the public, better take care of these youngsters. And so I want to recognize your staff, Mrs. Dickerson, that have done such a great job there, and encourage them to continue doing what they're doing, because those youngsters will appreciate it someday if they don't appreciate it today. And we all appreciate what you do on a daily basis. So congratulations to the social services section of Rockingham County.
Thank you. Commissioner Barrow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to recognize our elected officials we had with us tonight, which was Sheriff Sam Page. And if I can piggyback off of Mark for a minute, we have a lot of children that come into our care that come from some bad situations. And we also have a lot of children that are in the foster care system. Some of the members of social services have implemented a foster closet here for Rockingham County. So what that is they're accepting donations for children's clothing, children's toys, just basically anything that a child could need. If you're thinking about giving it to the Salvation Army or Goodwill, wherever the case may be, we could also use it here. My wife and I had a child back in September, and I was able to give my first donation to the foster closet a couple weeks ago. And Miss Emily Clifton gave me a thank you letter for that. So I wanted to thank her for her hard work. And if anyone out there can hear my voice, if you have any children's clothing, toys, anything that could be used for foster family or for children that come into our custody, please bring it by social services. We could use it, and we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrow, and I appreciate you mentioning that. We do always have a push around Christmas time, but that need extends throughout the year, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Our next meeting is May the 5th at 6:30 here at the Governmental Center in the Commissioner Chambers. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hall.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barrow. All in favor? Aye.